Adrian, we heard recently that the A's and I guess it's Bally's have a $1.5 billion binding agreement for a stadium ballpark site on the Vegas Strip. The question I've been asked most often is how binding is binding? What exactly does binding mean in this case?
It means as much as a girl walking up to you at a bar at one of our lovely hotels on the Strip.
Okay.
A little less than the pinky promise. I mean, heck, this is the second binding agreement in 2 weeks. I will say one of the differences is because this agreement is on the property of the Tropicana. We do know as of this morning, and again, we were recording here on this Tuesday, that earlier today, longtime employees of the Tropicana were basically told, hey, 18 to 24 months is the timetable for you to start looking for another job because of the demolition of the hotel. So that's a key difference. Whereas the one that was across the street, kind of near where the Raiders play, away from the Strip, that kind of seemed more like a pipe dream. But to be completely honest with you, this is inevitable and this is going to happen. But all of this is just, I guess it is the Strip. It's kind of icky in some of the points. This is going to happen eventually, and it looks like the Tropicana and Bally's, because they want to have a new hotel and put a new casino there to put it with this stadium. It looks like they're going to be the ones to pony up. They've given them the land, the 9 acres for free. That kind of is one of these deals where it's optics. But it just seems like this is going to be the place where it to be, much to the chagrin of locals because of the congestion and the specific location. But they don't care about that. They'll figure out a way.
Do you think there's any chance that any of this is a leverage play? I think people in Oakland are hoping this is a leverage play so the team can stay there. And I think the acquiring city is often leery of being used as a leverage play. Do you think there's any chance this is a leverage play?
I 100% think it's a leverage play. I mean, that's just the way business works. And I sympathize with Oakland a lot, just as a sports fan, to see all of their professional sports stripped. You see the hat in my head. I'm born and raised in Cleveland. I know how all my family feels about Art Modell and
yes,
the Baltimore Ravens taking away the Browns. But I think with what's transpired in this past month, when John Fisher and Dave Cavall, when they made their play and said, hey, we bought this land and we're leaving, and they were in the middle of negotiations like they've been for so many years with Oakland. Once they made this move and they basically showed up at our doorstep with their suitcase, there's no going back. There's no going back at this point. And now, like plenty of people, again, who are on the Strip right now looking for a sugar daddy, looking for a sugar mama, they're trying to find someone to help them out and to lend their hand. And much to the chagrin, again, of the locals here who just went through, I believe the correct number is $750 million that taxpayers have paid for Allegiant Stadium and the Raiders. We're talking less than 5 years ago to then now. I think the specifics are $395 million is going to be what the taxpayers are paying. So essentially $400 million. People don't want to do that. People don't think they should do that. People know how much money the owner of the A's has. People realize that this team has not been the greatest. They've been competitive at times with that $20 payroll that they have, not fault of any of the players, but why people have the idea of why are we spending this money and being just a handout for this owner to have this fancy location when he doesn't even invest in his team. So if I could give you a percentage, there's 10% of people who are just like, Vegas, baby, bring on all the sports. But I would say 70 to 80% of the people are like, hold on a second. Why are we giving this guy money? This team stinks. They've stunk for a while. He doesn't invest in the stadium. He doesn't invest in the team. Why are we doing this again?
Is there a chance that the legislature blocks this? Is there a chance that it goes to a vote to the public and the public votes it down and we're back at square one again?
I think with this location, it's a little easier to process. On my show last week, I actually talked to the Clark County commissioner who oversaw where the original the first binding agreement 2 weeks ago. And one of the weird things about the situation is professional sports stadiums now are at least $1 billion, right?
Right.
And nothing just gets built in a week. And they don't have, there's not blueprints. There's not, what are we doing with parking, police for these games, ambulance if someone gets sick, like all these different things that we don't think about when we're buying a ticket on StubHub to go to a game. Like none of this stuff has been planned. It's basically, can someone give me a cool 3D graphic to present? But to your question about legislature and the government kind of voting this down, I think because of this new area on the Strip where the Tropicana is, it's about 200 million less than what they were asking for in the original binding agreement. I do know the governor's kind of played both sides. For him to become governor, he said, hey, we're not giving any handouts. We're not giving anybody money if they want to come here. But at the same time, he wants to get this done. And he wants as many professional sports teams here. So I think that it's more than likely they have until the end of the week to kind of get this ready because they're kind of at the deadline where, hey, if you don't get this in, this is going to have to go in next year's timetable. So all of this stuff is like being hurried. And I know that the people who build stuff and the construction workers and stuff, they can do it. But when have you ever heard of a stadium just being rushed like this? Like we're building a McDonald's on this one. This isn't a McDonald's or some fast food chain. Like this is $1 billion stadium we're trying to do.
So when we first started talking, you said this is going to happen. But now it seems like you're walking that back a little bit to say at least there are things in the way of it happening. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. I just think that the people of this city do not want to do this if it means that they're going to be paying for the majority of it. Now, does that matter with the movers and shakers and the politicians and stuff? That's the position. I'm trying to come to you, giving you the opinion or what I've heard and what I've seen with discussions from the people that live here. But when it comes to the movers and shakers with the casinos and the politicians and the other world that is, I think eventually that'll get done because at the end of the day, whether it's sports or whatever, money's what truly talks.
I don't know enough about it legally or politically to understand what the next steps are. Let's just say, does the legislature get this sole decision and just say, hey, you're footing the bill of this general public, or does it go to a public vote where the public goes out and checks the yes box or the no box, and then we come back in a few months and have an answer?
Well, I'm not, and I don't want to come off as a CNN expert on any of this stuff, but from what I've been told and the discussions that I've had, basically they have until the end of the week to come up with a proposed bill. Next week, the legislature and all the figureheads from the state of Nevada and all the politicians will vote on that, and they're the ones who have the power.
Okay.
So this isn't necessarily like on a ballot and everyone locally needs to vote. It comes down to, number one, they need to get it done, which is crazy because, like, why wouldn't you have this proposed? Like, it that needs to get finished first. All the P's and Q's need to be crossed. Lawyers need to look at it. And then once they can propose it, they can get it in so that next week they can actually vote on it. Because if they don't get it in by the end of the week, this becomes something that can't get voted on until next year because we're basically at a deadline. And again, I will say the plan for them is 2027 is when they want opening day to happen. Now, does that mean they play in the minor league ballpark here in Las Vegas, the Aviators, which is the AAA affiliate of the A's? That seems kind of the plan, and they're going to need to do a little bit more construction to get that figured out. But they're trying to do all of this very quick, very last minute, and it's very baffling, if I got to be honest with you.
I think baseball, needs and wants Vegas. Does Vegas need and want baseball?
As I look up and down the Strip and see every residency, every magic show, every Adele and Usher concert, the Aces are this weekend. Game 5 of the Golden Knights, so the Western Conference Finals is going to be happening. The Aces are going to be opening up their season. Do we need it? No. Will it look cool? Yes. And one thing I do want to bring up, and I don't know if you're going to ask me, but I'll say this here, is there's this idea, I guess, across the country that they're kind of looking at the numbers that the A's are proposing because they're assuming every game is going to be a sellout. And I don't think every game is going to be a sellout. I just think that people are overinflating the tourist aspect of people traveling to Vegas to come see. In August or July, will a group of Yankees or Red Sox fans make a weekend trip? Why not? It's Vegas. It's what the NFL, but this isn't the NFL where I can be a Miami Dolphins fan or a Jaguars fan and convince the whole family to come to Vegas because we know what Vegas is. This is going to be a team that's going to be supported by the locals, and I think they'll do that, but they're only going to do that if the team's a winner or that they believe that ownership is trying to win. Is that what the A's have done the past 20 years?
Well, they've had good teams, but as you said, it's been kind of 3 years in and 3 years out, and we'll see what happens. I certainly do think if they came, they would invest in it just for the appearances of it, at least at the beginning, for sure. My own curiosity, obviously we see AAA baseball has worked in Vegas and has been there. I'm curious about the weather aspect. I've actually never been to Vegas. How hot is it in the summer? Like, we're talking about 30,000 seats, partially retractable roof stadium. I'm sure it'll be air conditioned. We see it work in Arlington and Houston and other hot places. But I'm just curious, like, how unbearable is it in the summer?
So basically, it's a dry heat. And the one thing that sucks about it is, you usually get a reprieve once the sun goes down, right? 9 a.m. or 9 p.m., 10 p.m., you open the door and you're good. No, you open the door at 3 a.m. here, and you're walking straight into an oven. It's 24/7. Wow. This first week is the first time it's going to be kind of like the signs that summer is here and almost approaching the hundreds. But with that being said about how hot it is, because it truly is, it'll hit 110, it'll hit 115. Because it's dry, you don't feel the sweat because when you sweat on your forehead, by the time it's like dripping down to your eyeballs, it's already gone because of the heat. It's wow. Evaporated. So you got to stay hydrated. And that's a very important part. This is a summer sport, right? The Ace are the Aviators, or the AAA affiliate, plays in Summerlin, one of the main suburbs of Las Vegas. I think much has been brought up. It's gone viral every couple of weeks. They'll do the attendance comparison to the A's and the Aviators. The A's, I think, had 1,400 people yesterday at their game. Yeah. People do show up. Like it's anywhere from 7,000 to 10,000. Not just on the weekends. People are out. They in the outfield. They got like the grass area, like the little picnic area. So people do show up, and that's without a retractable roof. So I do think that that's an important aspect, and that's kind of one of the weird things about this deal with Bally's and the Tropicana site is because it's 9 acres, and that's very small. I think the Minnesota Twins target field was 8.5 acres. Fenway. But Fenway was built how long ago? So I don't think it's like an easy comparison. So I think this is a situation where they gave them this land for free in hopes that they'll buy more land and do one of those plays because it's kind of need to be bigger. Even with the 30,000, which is smaller than usual, if it is going to have this retractable roof, from what I've seen, AKA my Twitter timeline, it's going to need to be a little bit bigger. But yeah, that needs to be taken care of absolutely because it's not feasible to have people out there in the heat. A Saturday, 1 p.m., Sunday, 1 p.m. start, get out of here. It's not going to happen. Absolutely not.
Adrian, man, much appreciated you shedding some light on this. It sounds like, yeah, it can happen, but it does sound like there is stuff in the way of it happening quickly or easily, and we will continue to follow it from afar, man. Adrian, give us where we can follow you, and well, I know where we can follow the Sporting Tribune. I'll give that Twitter account when you get off, but where can we follow you personally?
Hey, man, first off, thank you for all the time, man. I appreciate coming on here and talking about this. And on Twitter, you can follow me at Adrian Radio 93. And yeah, the Sporting Tribune, we're here for you whenever you need us, man.